Hello, this is Pastor James Hargrave with Greatest Love Ministries. I'm becoming more and more convinced there's going to be a crisis, an attack on this country. Unfortunately, it's going to be partially an inside job, a false flag by the deep state, who wants Barack Obama to take over. But they're going to do it with the help of a foreign god, which is Allah, and probably Iran. So, and I think the date of this attack, from what I've seen, is going to be Independence Day, July 4, 2024. And I want to get into some of the reasons for that. I've been watching Operation Blackjack, which came out on the London Telegraph in 2009 very closely, because there's a lot of symbolism in it. And I think they're trying to tell us something without telling us anything. One thing I know about these people, they're very arrogant. And they want to rub our face in it, so they just kind of put it out there. But they make it difficult to understand exactly what they're doing, because if they did, they'd get caught. And they don't want to get caught. But let's look at Operation Blackjack to get into this. Here's a slide. This is a video, but on YouTube. And I came out on the London Telegraph in 2009, and this is the slide, which shows June 22nd, 8:03:27 a.m. AM can also stand for Anno Mundi, which is the Hebrew or Freemason calendar, the year of light, or the year of light. Year of the world, year of the world. So this is Washington, D.C. gets nuked, 8:03:27. And then, like with the Iraq war, they did 9/11 for justification to go into the Middle East, to start to confront not the expansionism of Russia or China, but they don't want Russia and China to develop, the U.S. foreign policy is to be top dog and to dominate the world. And they see Russia and China as being able to stop them in that effort. So part of going into the Middle East was to go against Russia and China. But look at this timestamp in here, 8:03:27. Now, you can have many ideas, but I've had some ideas that I don't know if they were right, partially or not. But what's interesting, before we get to this timestamp of 8:03:27, let's look at Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel 38, when it's talking about Gog and Magog. I believe Gog is Obama, Magog is the West, or the United States, Babylon. And it says here, on that day thoughts will come into your mind, Gog, and you will devise an evil scheme. You will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living without walls and without gates and bars. He's talking about the regathering in Israel. And so here God decides to go to attack Israel. And let's look in Daniel chapter 11. That's chapter 9. Where's it? Here, let's find 11. Okay, at the time of the end, the king of the south, which I believe is Iran or Persia, will engage him in battle, and the king of the north will storm out against him with chariots and cavalry and a great fleet of ships. He will invade many countries and sweep through them like a flood. He will also invade the beautiful land, or Israel. So this is at the time of the end. This is before, it looks like, because it says down here further, but reports from the east and the north will alarm him. He will set out in great rage to destroy and annihilate many. I think that is the end that comes more likely in 2025, thermonuclear war, when Barack Obama or Gog attacks Russia and China. Probably because they won't submit to their plan. I don't know what the reasoning would be for that. But it looks like that's what it's saying here. But at the end, the king of the south will ran. And that's what it also says in, let's look it up here, Revelation chapter 9. First woe has already happened. And the first woe is how the U.S. government responded to the so-called pandemic. I'll leave it at that because I can't say any more. They'll kick me off YouTube if I do. So that's all I'm going to say. So look at that in Revelation 9. Read it in light of how the government reacted. And this was woe 1, how the government reacted to the pandemic. That's woe 1. And you go down, and okay, the first woe is past. The sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the four horns of the golden altar that is before God, said to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So that's right in the midst of Persia, what used to be Persia. Now it's in, I think, Iraq. But anyway, right there, Iraq, Iran, Euphrates, this is where war breaks out on here on the sixth trumpet in the Middle East, and that's what I'm expecting. But there needs to be an attack on America, specifically Washington, D.C., to decapitate the United States and to make the way for the abomination and desolation, Barack Obama, to take over, and also to create the emergency for the mark of the beast. That the mark of the beast will be done as a security measure, so-called security measure, and, you know, U.S. dollars are worthless. You know, if you're trusting U.S. dollars or saying anything denominated in dollars, you're being foolish, because they will go to zero very, very quick, like it tells us later in Revelation. In 1 hour, the wealth of Babylon goes to nothing. It's totally wiped out. So you have about a little over 9 months to get out of dollars and to get a plan to ride out the tribulation, the mark of the beast period, where you cannot buy or sell. You'll be disconnected from the financial system if you're a Christian, and you have to have a way to meet your needs without dollars and without finance of the banks. So one thing that's interesting, so I do think they're going after Israel in here. That's what Obama's primarily interested with. I don't know if it's due to his influence or his leanings towards Islam or not. He doesn't, as a person, hold to any God. He sees himself as God. He's very narcissistic. And that probably was what comes into play at the very end when he starts thermonuclear war, because the world might be standing up with him, trying to depose him, and he goes out in great rage, a narcissistic rage. He's a very dangerous man. But people are foolish, so, you know, there you go. They put their trust in a narcissist. So, okay, and then I was starting to, you know, let's go to Genesis here. Where's Genesis? Right here. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So it's also for signs. And I recognized an astronomical sign that I think is very significant, called the Callippic cycle. And let's look it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's an astronomical sign. It's a heavenly sign in the firmament. The Callippic cycle is a period of 76 years, which is equal to 4 metonic cycles, and those are 19 years each. At the end of the Callippic cycle, the phases of the moon recur at the same day and hour. The Callippic cycle was proposed by Callippus in 330 BC. So what it does, it harmonizes the Gregorian calendar, our calendar, which is a solar calendar, with a lunar calendar, or agricultural calendar, which is a lunar solar calendar. It's a lunar calendar. And it harmonizes those to within 1 day. 76 years exactly, plus 1 day. So it seems to be marking 76 years. And what's interesting, in the year 2024, we're going to be in the 76th year of Israel. And that also fits other prophecies in Scripture telling us it's going to be in year 2024. Now what's interesting, let's look up here on the Hebrew calendar, July 4th, 1948. So Israel became a nation again in 1948, or declared its independence. 1948, it was May 14th, 1948. And I just picked July 4th because it's our Independence Day. I'm convinced, this will happen. All heck will break loose. They will make their move around summer 2024. And my spidey senses are saying it's going to be Independence Day because that's very symbolic to bring an end to America, do the attack on Independence Day. Although it might happen May, maybe June. It could happen earlier than that. But so I just picked July 4th, 1948. And that just happens to be 27th of Sivan on the Hebrew calendar. Remember, these are harmonized now. They're correlated within 1 day in a 76 period. 5708. So you have the year of 5708, 8 Sivan, and just look here. If you don't know your Hebrew months, just look at this right here. Nisan is in spring. And it's the first month of the year. They actually have Hebrew Jews have 2 New Years. They have ecclesiastical New Year, which is the month of Nisan in spring. And then they have Tishri right here in the fall, which is their government New Year, their civil New Year. So if we just look at the first month, Nisan, the second month is Iyar, I don't know how you pronounce that. And then Sivan is the third month. So we got 8/3/27 for July 4th, 1948. And remember, the Antichrist goes after Israel. This is what Scripture is telling. He goes after Israel. And it's July 4th, 1948. And then if we look at Operation Blackjack, why you got there? Year 8, because this is, let me look that up here for you, so you can see what I'm talking about. Anno Mundi. Anno Mundi is a calendar error based on the biblical accounts of the creation of the world and subsequent history. Determines Latin in the year of the world. It's abbreviated AM. So that's what I'm talking about. It says here it was popular in early Christianity. So anyway, that's what it's talking about here, I think, in the symbolism from the Freemasons. It's pointing to July 4th. Now let's look up this and see it's saying June 22nd. And also we know from studying Freemasonry, they have several first months. One of them is in March, is considered the first month of the year. June is also considered the first month of the year. And then, of course, in the Gregorian system, in our system, January is the first month of the year. So let's look up here in the year 2024. Let me find this here. Let's first look at June 2024. And here's the 20th. This is June here, 2024. And the 20th is on a Thursday. And that's interesting because these all shift on the calendar. The 20th is on a Thursday. Then the 27th is a week after. And then if you get into July, July 4th is another week after that. So it's 2 weeks after the 20th. Now, what's interesting about that in Operation Blackjack, we're not going to go into it. It talks about after Washington, it points out Washington, New York are bombed. It has a slide in there that says, in this slideshow, it says 1 week after the bomb. And so it's not, so that's an offset in coding. It's an offset from, instead of June 20th through 22nd for this, it's really saying, look, 2 weeks after this. So it could be pointing to July 4th. Now, another reason I'm thinking it's 2024, because in Daniel chapter 9, which is talking about the Antichrist primarily, it's also talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ, the true Christ. But it doesn't say in here that Jesus is coming. He's coming at the end of the 77 years. So that's not till the end of 2025. So this part is talking about the Antichrist. He will confirm a covenant or the Constitution with many for one full 7 years. So if you start that, let me show you here. Just look at this. This is time and date. July 4, 2017. So Barack Obama was out of office January 20th, 2017. If you look at the middle of the year again, because when you start this in 1948, you're looking at May. So the summer again. So we're not looking exactly to the very day. We're focusing in on July 4th, or I'm focusing on July 4th because of the symbolism of that date. And they love symbolism. But technically speaking, it could be any period in 2024 summer, any day in 2024. So this would be, this is the 69th year from 1948 to 2017. And that's when it says in Daniel chapter 9 that he'll be cut off. It doesn't mean he dies. It just means he's out of office, because the Antichrist was in office and he comes back. We know that from Revelation, 13? No, Revelation 17. He's the 5th king and he's coming back as the 8th king. Barack Obama. So you go out 7 years from this and you get July 4, 2024. So the full 7, because he confirms it for a full 7. Now it says in the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. But this at the temple is what the word is, at the edge, at the extremity. So I'm taking this at the extremity of this prophecy of the 7, in the middle of that year, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation. There's multiple meanings to this, how you can interpret it. It points to true events, but more than one. You just have to be very open and let the Spirit show you what this is talking about. So let's just look at July 4. Okay, so that's July 4, 2024. Now from January 1st, 2024 to July 2nd, it's 183 days. So that's almost exactly, July 2nd would be almost exactly by the Gregorian calendar in the middle of the year. And it says in the middle of that year. So July 4th is extremely close to that, and that would also fit. We already looked at that. We looked at that. And then another thing that makes, as this is Daniel chapter 7, you need to be reading these if you're not. If you haven't read Daniel chapter 7, these beasts, which are Russia, Iran or Persia, and probably NATO or European Union, Brussels, lose their dominion. But they're allowed to continue, it says, for a season and a time. And a season and a time is roughly 15 months. So we know the end period of the 77 years when Jesus comes for Judgment Day. And this is 15 months before that. So that also points to around May, June, or July 2024. So you have it from two angles now. Daniel chapter 9 and the covenant with many 4:7. And you have it in Daniel chapter 7, the 15 months. You also have it from the Freemasons. And then you have it from a sign, an astronomical sign. Then here, Revelation chapter 9, the sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and the angel released or sounded his trumpet at the great river Euphrates and released the angels. So this war gets started as an attack from Islam or the Middle East, Iran, on America. Barack Obama comes to power. There's war in the Middle East. They invade Israel. And then later on, the pressure on Israel just continues. At some point, the Antichrist, Barack Obama, in great rage, goes against Russia and China, and you have thermonuclear war. That will be, I think, the rapture, the pre-wrath rapture, from what I'm seeing, is August 3rd, or very close to it, August 3rd, 2025. That's the hour of, if you look at, let's look at it here, just here real quick. There's so much meaning in these passages. Church in Philadelphia. Since you have kept, verse 10, kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial. Hour of trial. Not day of trial, not period of trial, an hour of trial. An hour, 60 minutes. So just break that down to 60 minutes, 60 days. This is symbolism in 60 days. It goes from the 9th of Av, very significant day for Israel. And then you go 60 days from the 9th of Av, or August, which is August 3rd, 2025. And it goes up to October 2nd, which is the Day of Atonement or Judgment Day. So during that 2-month period, I believe the saints will be raptured August 3rd and will stand with Jesus in Jerusalem as he's fighting the Antichrist in Jerusalem, because God goes to Israel. This is all going to come down in Israel. And there's going to be thermonuclear war. And then that's the end. The new heaven and earth comes down. This earth passes away, and thermonuclear radiation, and maybe the Lord cleanses it after that, or it's wiped out. I don't know how exactly that works, but God's going to give us a new heaven and a new earth, because human beings are going to destroy this earth. God's not destroying it. Human beings are destroying it. Corrupt human beings. So that's how I'm looking at this. So I think, and I would say, and I would teach, I'm going to teach, you have till Independence Day 2024 to put a plan together to ride out maybe 13 months till the rapture. No, that's not right. Perhaps 13 months till the attack on America, the rise of the Antichrist. And then after that, you have about 11 months till the rapture. So you have maybe, no, I'm sorry, I'm messing up. 13 months. Because it looks like the rapture could be August 3rd. So you'll be with Jesus after that in Jerusalem. He'll provide for you. You don't need anything there. So roughly a 13, 15 month period. So you need to be able to get through a little over a year, because you're not going to be able to buy or sell. So you better start putting together a plan. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, thank you very much.